So once you have your watercolor painting all finished, your needle is threaded, remember, pull it through only 3 to 4 inches and make sure you have the knot in the end. There's a separate video that shows how to do that. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna choose one of your gemstones to start with. And then what you need to do is you need to take your needle tool. Be careful, they're not super sharp, so they're not gonna poke into you, but just be careful so when you poke through the paper, what you need to do is take your needle first, put your hand underneath the back, and you're gonna poke at each point of your paper, or each point of your gemstone through the paper. So wherever you have a corner that touches together, you need to pierce through your watercolor paper before you can actually start to stitch. This makes it much easier to stitch when you have the holes pre-punctured through the paper. So you want to go every place where you have a corner of your gemstone and puncture the paper before you start to stitch anything. So then you can see you have all those little holes already through your gemstone. Then you're going to take your needle and your knot, and you're gonna start at the back of the paper. You can start in any hole that you want to. Just feed your needle through one of the holes. It'll come up through the front. You pull all the way through till you get to the knot. When you get this pulled all the way through, you need to take a piece of Scotch tape and tape over the knot on the back so you don't pull it through the paper, and it'll hold it for you, okay? Then you can continue to stitch down through another hole. Make sure that you're careful so you don't make knots in your thread when you're pulling it through, and then you can see the one stitch mark. Then you can flip your paper over and go back up through another hole. Okay. And then you go back to connect your other lines so that you get all of your outlining done with the black thread then. So then I can go back to another hole on the back. Go up through because you already have your holes punctured. You have to make sure that you pull it tight so that you don't have any gapping there. And you're just gonna keep stitching until you get your entire outline covered. So I'm gonna go back to this hole. You can go up through the same hole or down through the same hole multiple times to get it stitched. But you have to make sure that every line on your project gets stitched, and that's what really gives it the pop. So make sure that you're pulling it tight so you don't have any loose stitching threads. You just keep moving until you get all of your gemstones stitched. You may need to use more than one thread for a gemstone depending on the size of it. That's okay. You can always go get another one. Just get another one, rethread your needle, make another knot, and you'll be able to just continue going. I want to go till we get to the end of this piece because you have to knot it at the end and tape it off too. Just make sure you keep pulling them tight on the back so you don't have gapping thread anywhere. And then make sure you pull it through tight when you get to the front. And you can see that this helps the lines of your gemstones look a lot more crisp as well. So those lines look straight, because sometimes some of you, when you were doing your watercolor, got a little bit out of the lines, or you have a little white space that shows. That helps to just cover all those little imperfections in your painting. So you're just gonna keep stitching until you get all of your lines covered. Remember, you can go back up in the same hole as many times as you need to get all your lines stitched. Remember, the tips of the needles are not really sharp, so they're not gonna stab into your skin or anything. And you can skip around on your lines just depending on, oops, I missed one. There's a point there. So if you find one you forgot, just go ahead and do that. It's Easier if you look through the back. Oops, wrong one. When you get towards the end, it's a little bit harder to figure out sometimes which space you still need to get it filled in. So we're getting towards the end of this thread here, but it's okay. I think we can get that one. You can let that a little shorter so you can get to the last stitch. So once you have the whole gemstone stitched up, then you can see how much more it makes it show up, and it helps it look more dimensional. Then we're gonna flip it over on the back and just take your thread and your needle and go through some that you have stitched on the back. Just push them through there. And then get this little loop and don't pull it all the way through. Hold onto the loop and then put your needle through the loop a couple times, and that's gonna tie a knot on the back side, okay? Then you can take your scissors and cut that, leave a little tail, and then just put a piece of Scotch tape over the end of that too, and it'll help hold your project so it doesn't come unstitched.